No! Oh man. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed reading the first little bit by yourselves and just imagining what I sounded like while my mouth was moving. Yeah, well, we had a pretty busy weekend. Hope you guys had a good time. This is a few days short where we struggle streaming. Let's just get into this though. I'm not gonna. We'll skip the recap. Maybe I'll do it in part 2 when the second game. But anyway, funny thing when yeah, well I read this to myself, but I don't think you guys heard this. Yeah, Matthew McConaughey God dang it, returning to his estranged daughter. Well, thank you, Scruffy. From the other side of the cosmos, from beyond the event horizon, guided by nothing but love. Then, whenever I got back to planet Earth for a week or two, I was haunted by a memory of that affection. I was the best possible version of myself toward her. But that haunting always refused to transfigure into something real. What gradually took its place were angry, disappointed thoughts. And among them, one thought that I was always trying to suppress. I need someone who'd know how to raise me up spiritually. But all I have is a sycophant who's always working her ass off to lift me up without understanding what I need. It's hurting us both. Having these words pop up in my head hurt me, because they had a ring of truth to them. But also because I knew there must be another narrative. A better narrative. I was just too stupid to find it. Story of my life. Story of my own life. I still have no idea what I think about this city. I had the best city in the world phase. I had just a playground for the wealthy fucktards phase. Now I'm in search of a better description. One day, probably, I will stumble upon, like, a piece of writing or a prestigious TV show scene that will contain just that. And suddenly, I will look at this place with new eyes. Or maybe I won't. It's like the frustrations I had back at Lodestar. All these words constantly trailing behind reality, trapping you in useless mindsets instead of bringing enlightenment. Fuck all those flashy writers whose main concern is furthering their own brand. Douchebags who present you with limited, pathetic, depressing realities where they are kings. Fuck them all to hell. We need words that will paint a brighter future before our eyes. What if that can't be done without reinterpreting the past first? What if we haven't even defined the ills and threats correctly? Once again, my thoughts return to the same visual that has been tormenting me for almost every waking moment of this past week. A senseless demise devoid of any context. A crime scene stripped of evidence, an image created by an unknown artist, designed to leave you dumbfounded. The investigation is over. All the possible avenues explored. All the non-testimonies are in. No concrete evidence found. The play is almost complete. The actor is ready to leave the stage. It is what it is. I failed as a detective, maybe through no fault of my own. But again, it is what it is. This case, this scene, this picture never needed an investigator. From what I understand, all the people in charge ever wanted was a talented writer. What if? A ghost of an idea. When I wake up, Dakota is still not here. Dakota's the name. I don't know how to feel about that, so I just don't. Kadir hasn't left any messages by the door. Still that mad, huh? He'll probably appeal to the court to take me off the case, and if half the garbage Kaiser was spouting is correct, he shouldn't have much trouble convincing anyone. I look in the mirror and stare at my warped non-reflection. This place is upsetting. You need a change of scenery, girl. The depressing streets of a lockdown New York City will do. I think of God. Maybe that's why I half-consciously picked the cathedral as my destination. I think of the silver cross adorning my chest, an empty signifier. Whenever someone asks me why I wear it, they hear a different story. I think of these silhouettes that I keep spotting from the corner of my eye. No, I don't even want to imagine what that means. I feel what it means, and it makes me nauseous enough. I think of my clan so closely tied to the Catholic Church. It's a loveless marriage, so to speak, like, for example, the one between my parents. I think about the great irony of the Lasombras truce with the Holy See. We're the only ones who stay so close to the Lord's light, even though we're certain we will never, ever reach it. Some of us shadows have visions of comrades who departed this world recently, traveling through some abstract space. Excuse me. One that's disturbing and astonishing in equal measures. They almost reach whatever afterlife there is for our kind, but then get caught and consumed by a dark, monstrous silhouette. The rumor is our antediluvian wasn't stopped by his final death. He's still out there, behind the shadows, taking revenge for our petricide, feeding on us like Saturn devouring his children. I did not know that about the La Sombra antediluvian. The forebears of every kindred belonging to the 13 vampire clans, these vicious bastards of the 13th generation created the world as we know it, and some features of our blood are said to have originated with them. Thanks for cutting me out of the internet, you Mesopotamian dickweed. Is what I'd say if I didn't have a premonition we might see each other again. Someday, somehow. Interesting. As Dakota would say, it might not be factual, but it is an emotional truth, from joining the Camarilla to panically scrambling for any safe house. It's like our elders are solely motivated by fear. The sins of our fathers are catching up with them, and it's young kindred like me who are given responsibility to clean up their mess with the constant sense of doom looming over the horizon. We don't talk about salvation anymore. We're just minimizing the impact of damnation. That's no way to live. But then again, maybe that's why they call it unlife. Shit, it's Benoit. Hello there, lost sheep. I'll have you know this shepherd was extraordinarily patient in waiting for you. What are you doing here while the night is so young? Out for blood? Well, you're in luck. This place offers both the body and the blood. If missionaries learned their methods from pickup artists, they would all be like this guy. I'm not in the mood, you sorry ass bum. Step the fuck away from me or you're gonna be sorry. Like, I don't even know what Benoit has like done. Like, he was kind of annoying the first time we met, but chill. Oh my, something troubling you? If so, I can arrange a confession. Or, if you're in a hurry, keep in mind, the path from inner turmoil begins with a friendly ear. And I've got one right here. Kurwa Jamana Twoja, you want me to fuck you up, don't you? Don't you? I don't know what that is. Julia, as you should know by now, I always interpret this kind of response to preaching the divine as the devil stirring inside. Is that what it is, Julia? The liar and the father of lies got a hold of your soul? If so, give me a signal, even the smallest one. I'll do my best to spot it. Something swells up inside my chest. I recognize the feeling. The handbrake just broke and I'm definitely not on level ground. Fuck, here we go. Listen, I've had enough, alright? Enough. Enough of your sanctimonious attitude, enough of your brazen lack of basic empathy, enough of your dumb, ugly fucking mug. Your fucking singularity of stupidity, tastelessness, and cringe. Okay. Met all sorts of horrible shitheads and asshats this week, and somehow none of them got under my skin the way you do, you motherfucker. Like a goddamn Jehovah's Witness going from door to door, except you're always knocking on my fucking skull going, hey, do you know God exists? Have you heard that God exists? Like, hold on. Hold it right there. When did I ever say that God exists? What? I said, what makes you think I believe God exists? Oh, now you're fucking with me. No, I'm serious. Well, he sounds serious. At least, I'm actually speechless. I think there's been some sort of silly misunderstanding that desperately needs to be cleared up. I'm all ears. I sure hope so, Julia. I feel like you must have ignored half of what I've been saying for you to reach these conclusions. That's very well possible. Actually, it usually takes 15 seconds of him talking to get me completely zoned out. So, to avoid any further mix-ups, I will go back to the beginning and explain the core of my religious beliefs. Okay? So, I love the Catholic imagery. I cherish the tradition and the lore. I adore the practices, the intricacies of the theology, the messages contained in the Bible. Of course I do. Does that mean I believe that one day I will see the big dad in the sky? Forgive me, Lord, but I don't think so. Doesn't sound very likely, especially for a bloodthirsty creature of the night. He has to say, forgive me, Lord, just in case. So, that's what this is about. Fun imagery. That's overly simplified, but yes, I suppose you could say that. Motherfucker, you ain't Catholic, you're just a weirdo cosplayer, says a non-practitioner who still wears a cross. Yeah, but I don't shove it down people's throats for fun in my spare time. I'm simply trying to share the joys religion has brought to my own life with others. What joys? Oh, where to start? When there are so many. The joy of having plainly understandable rules to follow. The joy of having a structure to your life. The joy of always knowing where to find people who share your values. Above all is the joys of being an aristocracy, surrounding oneself with exquisite, luxurious architecture, beautiful classical music, ornate rituals formalizing our actions and relationships. A pursuit of virtue separating you from the masses, the hierarchies, the communities, all serving an idea greater than themselves. It's like monarchy or some Camarilla tradition, but not as gauche. So that's what it was. You saw pretty paintings and buildings and thought, hell yeah, I want in. And then you just decided what they mean to you? Oh, don't get me wrong. It's real faith that brought me to the fold. But eventually I whittled down this religion to its core, to what interests me. Unbelievable. But don't think for a second I wasn't empathetic when I was trying to convert you. You are the embodiment of existential despair surrounding us, the one that people usually try to drown out with drugs, sex, work, Netflix, pick your poison. All of them temporary copes. Empty yourself, kill your ego, get a routine, join a community, ground your morality in something tangible. Start perceiving yourself as a part of something greater. All of it good advice by itself, but codified in an appealing otherworldly aesthetic. One that keeps the beast at bay. One you're almost fitting into the way you are. What's there to hate? Unbelievable. You're a goddamn lunatic. He looks to the sky. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Stop that. Your entire ideology is just aesthetics, you fucking loon. And how exactly do I differ from anyone else nowadays in this regard? Stop arguing semantics. No, you stop. Just look at yourself, a privileged burnout who refuses to invest herself in anything. Only started committing to anything when, for once in your life, you were forced into a politically charged, dangerous task. Once it's over, you will be back to being an aimless brat. Desire to murder increases. Ever since World War II, I've been watching every person and every ideal I cared about wither and disappear. That's the source of my pain. That's the reason I am what I am. The source of your pain? A thing that defines you. People have been mean to you? Fuck off. People in third world countries keep their heads high while suffering from every sort of horror. But you have a complete mental breakdown every time you remember you have mommy issues. Wow. Classy. Oh, don't act like you have the high ground here, you oblivious sadist. All I'm saying is, everyone has a different framework, a different lens to view their suffering through. Yes, and if there's one thing abandoning your humanity should have shown you, is that kind frameworks are not enough. Petty vendettas, childish romances, pointless power struggles, the dumb gamble that's chasing a successful career. Mommy and daddy issues? Sure, why not? Pain and pleasure dictate everything. Everyone wants something bigger than this. They want to escape from the drudgery. They want psychedelia, but permanent. They want to stare at God's face, even if he does not exist. And you can show them how. Accept the cross you're wearing into your heart, Julia. Accept it. Creepy fucker. Just accept it. Alright. That will be enough, Benoit. The mood changes in an instant. The sight of Father Leonard takes us both aback. Father, what are you doing here so early? You two are arguing so loudly, I had to come out and check. Even if, with all the panic on TV these days, simply walking outside feels like I'm marching into a war zone. Yes, I'm sorry. You should be. I was willing to turn a blind eye to your quirks, because I believe you have your heart in the right place. Mostly. But I'm very disappointed in the way you approach folks in need. Right now, Benoit Segal is displaying all the confidence of a scolded teacher's favorite. But I was just trying to guide her, to set her on the right path. I know, Benoit. I know. That's the problem. The sacristy is open. Please head there right now. We need to have a long talk. Give me some coffee if you wish. But, Benoit? He slowly slinks away, looking defeated, deflated, debased. I burn the moment into my retinas, etch it on my soul, kind of hoping I'll never have to see him again. And this is how I'll remember him. Father Leonard watches him closely until he disappears from sight, then turns to me. I feel sorry for him. I keep hoping he might find some basic empathy through faith. But all I've done thus far is let him leave you at the end of your tether. Yeah, that's some faith he has. Are you okay with all the bullshit he's spouting? Huh, I don't exactly support it, but I don't reject it. It's like attrition and contrition. Imperfect and perfect repentance, you know. One is focused on a relationship with God. The other, selfish and focused on personal gain. But both of them work. Yeah, but doesn't this strike you as completely missing the point? A bit. But purely secular takes on Christ's teachings are nothing new. Pascal's wager is a boring example. But have you, by chance, read Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita? Sure, back in Poland, every teen trying to look intellectual online loved to repeat that joke about the talking cat who swears he'd never pour vodka for a lady because women deserve pure alcohol. That's one takeaway from that novel, I suppose. I read it as a moving depiction of Christ, who's not a divine being, stripped of mythic qualities but open for transcendence. Jesus and Satan understood as powerful forces battling within us. We'll have to read it again. It's been too long. Sounds nice, though. I stretch lazily and take out another smoke. Leonard watches me closely before speaking up again. Julia. 4 hours from now, there's going to be a meeting in the Elysium. The big finale of celebrations of power. Everyone will be there, but they were counting on you to not show up. The good sheriff plans to present the results of the investigation in your stead. It's a simple cruise strategy. Might work, but begs to be countered with an outrageous tactic. Take it as you will. The game is about to end. Momentarily, I'm left dumbfounded. All I can muster is an eloquent, eh? Oh, don't ask me. I'm just the messenger. Who relayed this message to you, then? A good friend. A cautious friend. Wouldn't be able to tell you more than that even if you forced me to. Well, shit. This is the moment that might decide the rest of my days. What would you do in my place, Father? When I was faced with the dilemma that would shape the rest of my life, the world felt too big and scary and impossible to understand. So I simply escaped from that choice into the seminary. Yeah, if that's your idea of good advice, I'm gonna have to ask you to shove it. I would expect nothing less. Don't you regret it? Regret what? You're kind of shady, but don't seem like a bad guy. Still, you have to accept the people above you are responsible for some horrible things. It's our superiors' acts count as our own sins. Then on the face of it, probably half the people in this world are irredeemable. Clever, but not a real answer. Being a low-level grunt for assholes you find wholly objectionable is no way to live. I don't know. Is it? I finished the smoke in silence. I have to go. Don't know if and when we'll see each other again, but when that happens, I probably won't be the same old man. Of course. But before I leave to scold Benoit, let me say one more thing. Yeah? These are difficult times. My parishioners keep calling me. The things people are going through, they might never admit, but if this keeps up, it will cause horrifying, invisible damage to this nation. A dreadful darkness is killing us all, little by little, and like every powerful evil, it manifests itself little by little. And yet, sinful as it may be, I confess to being strangely excited. For a moment, we're seeing this suffocating normal disappear. This is the time to dream a new world is possible. Walk these empty streets, Julia. Remember how the city feels right now. Bask in its shadows and uncertainties. After the apocalypse comes the great rebirth. The Amici Noctis await your next report with great curiosity. I give him a nod and I sprint away. Now I know what I must do. Hey, Moon. My lone, constant companion. When I moved here for good from, the old country, you were the only close friend who kept me company. Never felt in the right place to back there. I don't know. Never felt in the right place here, especially now when I'm not quite alive, not quite dead, not that Slavic, not that American. But maybe it's about time I finally carve out some space for myself. It's been a long road, hasn't it? Wish me luck. I catch him in front of the art hole because of course he had to be the first person I met there. No way. No, no, no. I'm going to be the laughingstock of the entire city if I don't show up to the resolution of my own investigation. But you demonstrate a modicum of courtesy. Courtesy, girl? I should put you on trial. I can't guarantee I eventually won't. You've messed with Kaiser, the eminence Grice of this city, beaten him to a pulp like a random goon. He will do everything he can to destroy you from now on, and my bet is he'll succeed. Whatever will be, will be. For now, at the very least, I'd like to show the court I'm not a baby fledgling who can't see a task she was given to the end. You're making a huge mistake. How did you even learn this meeting is happening in the first place? Maybe I'm not as trash an investigator as you thought I was. I never said. But you're showing it. It's not a fair assessment. I wanted to finish this whole mess myself, for your own good. It would be nice if you asked what I think next time. I'm actually pissed off he tried to pull this off without me, but I'm not letting it show. Counting on being able to guilt trip him into submission. His deep sigh of resignation proves that my tactic was successful. Fine, but you will stay quiet. The whole time. No tricks, ifs, or buts. But of course. This way. We step into the maw of the gallery. The celebrations of power are almost over. Everyone is back to their usual respective styles again, looking weary on each other's company, trapped in their own little worlds. The art hole is nearly empty now, and Kadir is gently strong-arming the last remaining nobodies into leaving the premises. Eventually, only me and a select few New York Camarilla VIPs remain. Ah, Miss Savinsky, barely made it, huh? The asshole with the glued-on smile spots me first, and he's just so authentically enthused to see me as ever. So he finally showed his face around here. I wasn't sure if you'd join us tonight. Kadir made this meeting sound like a one-man show. The preparations took me a bit longer than I thought they would. I apologize. Are you, by chance, planning to surprise us with something? Well, if I was planning something, it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you now, would it? Can I have everyone's attention, please? We're about to begin. Everyone remaining in the building gathers around Kadir. Ah, exciting. Is everyone present? Present. And accounted for. My prince? Yes. Before we begin, let me welcome an unusual guest to our fold. She gestures toward a corner, from behind which emerges a silhouette that would have never ever appeared here under normal circumstances. Name's Torque. I'm the Baron of the Bronx. I was delegated here by my compatriots as an oversight authority. I'm here to observe the results of the investigation. Nothing more, nothing less. Let me stress this one last time. This is a one-time occurrence, meant to alleviate the tensions in the city. Not a symbol of mutual recognition, not in the slightest. I peek at Addison's face to get a feel for how a hardline loyalist might grapple with this arrangement. His expression betrays no surprise, only at slight discomfort. If even he is fine with it, the prince must have been extremely convincing about the necessity of a temporary truce, or about some Machiavellian tactic she's got ready up her sleeve. Who knows? Of course, we might have irreconcilable differences, but there are times they have to be temporarily put aside in order to quell unrest and open paths for constructive, meaningful change. If anyone would like to voice their concerns, the time is now. Torque, Arturo, and Pinard exchange glances. Normally, I'd consider it an innocent gesture. Knowing what I know, I roll my eyes. A stick or a carrot, Torque? What made you break and sell your compatriots? How much do you really know? If not, Kadir? May I? He steps into the middle of the room and clears his throat theatrically. First, let me plainly state that the conclusion I'm going to present is by no means my own achievement. It is the result of a tireless investigation conducted by talented kindred I won't name here. A telling glance in Torque's direction serves as a sufficient explanation for why he refuses to call them by their names. And of course, Julius Savinsky, whose ceaseless groundwork over the past few nights served as a foundation for the findings that are about to be revealed here. Thank you, Julia. It's not the first time he sets out to oversell my achievements. As the sheriff, my role here is mostly representative. I spent the last few days overseeing the celebrations in Elysium, making sure no harm would befall anyone present. Luckily, none did. Looks like the prince's decision to move forward with the event was the correct one. And for that, we should extend our thanks to Kadir. And let us not overlook our guest to a degree. I managed to convince my key allies that diplomatic action is the only way forward in this case. No matter how wrong-headed the enemy can be, we still need avenues to negotiate and communicate. I'm curious how Tamika would react to him looking like a corporate bastard designing the future order, dismissing potential for change that lies in unrest. No wonder she dumped him. Spare us the empty pleasantries and let Kadir move on. I don't have all night for this. Right. I'll be concise. Douglas, boss Callahan's remains were found in his office by one of his ghouls first thing in the evening. The first kindred to confirm it was another anarch baron, Torque, present here. A mystery book author would refer to the circumstances of Callahan's death as a classic closed-room mystery. The metal door, locked from the inside, served as the sole way in. There was no murder weapon, no useful testimonies, and the evidence was, how do I put it, barely circumstantial at best. What was left for us was one hell of a puzzle, one where the answer couldn't even be approached using the tried and tested question, Chibono? We were presented with a poorly timed, powerful upheaval, a tense situation where a long-planned celebration was in danger. Suddenly, all of us were faced with an uncertain future. Everybody benefited, yet nobody did. No one was especially fond of Callahan, but it's not like anyone seemed particularly keen on removing him from the equation, especially at this time. For a moment, we were sure this was the beginning of an offensive on the part of the Camarilla. We started wondering just how violent our retaliation should be. And as for us, we were momentarily convinced that the Anarchs were plotting to blame us for their own internal power struggles, a tense situation resolved only thanks to skillful and swift diplomacy. Dare I say, yet another victory for our talented prince. Julia made sure to examine all the contacts Callahan might have had in his last days, in both sects. Her efforts were tireless, and only rarely misguided. He just had to spit out the last one biting remark, didn't he? Well, he's probably just covering his ass. But as exhaustive as they might have been, they only served to muddle the possibilities, not explain them. Callahan had a lot of enemies, but they were the most infuriating kind of enemies one can have. Folks who barely ever thought of him anymore. In other words, no one really had a particular interest in getting rid of him, because they could always simply work their way around him. Just before last Christmas, he had witnessed the first ever successful First Light raid against his extremely profitable blood trade supply lines. The lone ace up his sleeve, a downright shady ability to perfectly maneuver around all SI activities gone. Callahan's decline was apparent to all, and a domino effect made his empire slowly crumble. Up until recently, he'd done an admirable job keeping up with the times and getting away with murder, but suddenly, all of the prison spotlights were on him. The recent stories we hear about him all depict a depressed, Downright manic recluse, lashing out at everyone, struggling and utterly failing to fit into the new reality he found himself in. A closed room, no evidence of struggle, a lack of strong whodunits, the corpse being found in the very early evening hours. The conclusion is simple. Callahan's final death was self-inflicted. Suicide, to put it in simple terms. Silence has filled the room. So, wow. That really is the angle they'll be pushing, isn't it? Let's hear it, Sheriff. I will explain. It was an independent detective who first set me on to this theory, only last night. There is no suicide note of any kind, of course, but the message our recently departed has sent might not have necessarily been a verbal one. The peculiar thing was the position of the body. It was like an arrow pointing at us to notice something. It appears the last thing Callahan saw in his unlife was a portrait of one Lord Castlereagh, the second Marquis of Londonderry, which is, coincidentally, where Callahan was born. To most, he was a reviled traitor, a heartless suppressor of all dissent, the main threat against each rebellion the Irish have gone through, successful in all ways but those that mattered to his people. Some call him a tragic figure, holding together selfish allies against a common threat, always fighting for painful and unpopular compromises, ruined by overwork, sickness, and poor public speaking skills. Not hard to see why Douglas Callahan would empathize with him. Polite snickers. Indeed, especially when you realize that the sickness in his blood, his failures, the hatred from his own people, and a growing paranoia led him to commit a dramatic suicide within his own four walls. Ah, I see. The assumption is, instead of stabbing himself to death with a knife or a pen, he decided to let the sun embrace him in its warmth, Castlereagh's face burning into his eyes. A poetic final death. It's not a closure we might have wanted, but probably the best explanation of his motivation that we're going to get. Does everyone follow? A heavy silence fills the room. Nobody speaks up, except Prince Bernard. To me, it's all perfectly understandable, agreeable, and, most importantly, it fits the man I've come to understand over the last 2 decades. Consentient murmurs resonate through the room. Agreed. And might I add, there were some irregularities in the handling of the crime scene, but the Anarch leader's findings suggested Callahan's resentful ghouls were to blame. Folks have been real happy to see him dead, is all I'm saying, and they went overboard with the celebrations. They've all been interrogated, though. Yes, I received all the resulting intel, and it's done nothing to change my mind. The depictions of Callahan's state of mind only serve to support the suicide theory. It is my suggestion that we all announce these findings to our respective communities first thing tomorrow night. Sounds reasonable, and I think that concludes this meeting. I'll let the Keeper of the Elysium do the honors. No time wasted, huh? Alright, does anyone have anything to add? Any questions to ask? Take your time. Silence. I look at everyone just sitting it out in perfect agreement. Congrats, everyone. Congrats, us. We've achieved a perfect victory. No loose ends, no rocking the boat, no nothing. Makes you want to puke. How many of them contributed to this final report? How strongly does Kadir believe the shit running from his mouth? He's always been a Camarilla loyalist, a fanatic even, but... Miss Julia, any final statements? This is it. Now or never. If anyone can blow this pathetic charade wide open, it's me. But there's no coming back from this road, and it has a cost. I've spent all my life and on life on social climbing, and the sunken cost fallacy is kicking in. Challenging them here might be my only way to ever making it out of the pit I'm in. On the other hand, maybe this is my time to head into the unknown. Kill my ego, at least temporarily. Shut up the voice of the elder screaming in my head, betray my somber instincts. Make all these ghosts go away and figure out something new, no matter how scary it might be. Do I dare? Or maybe I don't. I feel like there's an incredible prize to be won, waiting right in front of me. If I just dare to take out this revolver with its single bullet I have hidden on me, and invite everyone here for a crazy game of Russian roulette. But I also get this foreboding gangster movie feeling, like this is the scene where the future mobster could have gotten out, but he didn't. In the end, did Callahan think all the splendor of the golden arrow was worth this pathetic end? It's like there are two selves battling for dominance inside of me. One of them has to die, the other gets to live. Honestly, it's a flip of the coin. I reflect on all the kindred I've met, lessons I've learned, choices I've made over the past few nights to make a decision. And then, feeling like I'm simply following the way I conducted this investigation to its logical conclusion, I respond. Actually, I do. That was, if I was given a choice, I was definitely going to speak up. It's like the beast itself flashed in Kadir's eye for a brief moment. No, you don't. But I do. Miss Savinsky. Don't make a scene. Believe me, every one of you will really, really, really regret it if they don't listen to what I have to say. Will we, now? Oh, absolutely. I stand up and step right in front of Kadir. Don't get me wrong. Kadir has done a spectacular job of selling you a ready-made narrative to package and export to the outside world. Hail to the sheriff and all that. But was this little show really necessary? Did you all really need to hype each other up to believe this fairy tale? What are you getting at, little girl? Easy for now, my prince. Insult me all you want. It's only gonna make it all the sweeter when this little girl kicks your ass. I'm getting at the fact there's a different, more reasonable theory that explains everything. Everything to a T. That's great for you, sweetheart. But do I really need to stay here and listen to it? The door is right there, but on the off chance you get implicated in something tonight, don't you want the chance to defend yourself? What are the chances of me being implicated in anything tonight? I'm pretty sure a lot of kindred in this room are asking themselves the same question right now. In each case, my answer is the same. You won't find out unless you stay right where you are. She stays. Alright, where was I? Let's assume that the cause of Boss Callahan's death really was suicide. Our man said, fuck everything. Open the window shutters, let the break of dawn take care of all his problems. And let's assume that he's really meant to send a message using the portrait of Lord Castlereagh. Sounds dramatic, but sure, let's go with it. But it is commonly understood that Castlereagh was pushed into taking his own life as a result of a conspiracy against him. Needless to say, his biggest fan wouldn't miss that detail. According to historians, the man's last words imply that some powerful people faced him with a choice: denunciation or death, which, for an ambitious politician, is not a choice at all. So, if you are claiming that Callahan left us a hint, it's a troubling hint, don't you think? What are you? Enough. We're not dealing in conspiracy theories here. Of course you're not. I mean, a conspiracy theory backed by the elites is no longer called such. It's propaganda. Is there a point to this little show you're putting on, Miss Savinsky, other than digging yourself a deeper and deeper metaphorical hole? Oh, Mr. Arturo, I fucking hate this guy. You're still trying to tell yourself it's me who's in trouble and not you. That's adorable. Listen, you. No, you listen. He freezes in shock. Definitely not used to resistance. I don't blame you for peddling propaganda. You are politicians. That's what you do. I'm just laughing at you for coming up with a shitty, poorly conceived propaganda. So, will someone stop her, or... Mr. Addison Payne, you're the architect behind the local Camarilla's current speeches and general political narrative. Be honest. Does this shit show really meet your standards? We stare into each other's eyes, unblinking, slowly feeling each other out. Eventually, with a barely audible snigger, he whispers to his servant, "How do I put this? I'm always open to a better pitch." That's all I wanted to hear. All I'm asking for now is a little patience. That I can spare. Oh, for goodness sake, Addison, come on, man. You can't possibly... Silence. I said what I said, now let her talk. Thank you. I'm starting to have fun with this, or more like I'm feeling that weird rush, reminding me of the first time I managed to ride a bike. The important thing is to keep up the momentum, focus on pedaling hard, don't even think of falling. You thought you had it all figured out, didn't you? An improperly handled murder scene, a disposable investigator forced to blindly stumble around, hopelessly chasing loose ends. Your only problem is that tonight, I realized I was using the wrong tools all along. Instead of a sleuth's magnifying glass, I only needed a journalist's pen. So, I sat down tonight and wrote my first article in almost a year. 2 hours of ceaseless writing, creative juices flowing the entire time, everything miraculously falling into place. And frankly, I think it's my masterpiece. I get carried away and jump on one of the benches. What the fuck? You want to hear the contents? I know you're all dying to hear the contents. So, okay, let's hear the contents. Aisling Sturbridge, High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs, violently splitting with her student after he discovered her plans for horrifying experiments with blood magic. Her target? Baron Callahan, said student, conveniently missing. We've got an exclusive source, too. Agathon, the Warlock's personal diary. Extra, extra, read all about it. She's trying to hide that she's nervous, but she's practically shaking. I should be the one shaking. I'm piecing together what little solid or relatively solid intel I have, gluing it together into something coherent, with educated assumptions and pure conjecture. But at least I'm fairly sure she recognizes me as a threat now. Just what I was hoping for. Next up, is it true that Torque, the brave anarch baron, primed to be the next de facto leader of the sect in New York City, might have been manipulating his entire faction to secure the position? This appeasement candidate convinced his key allies that the revolution is not an option at the moment, appearing as a reasonable alternative to his bloodthirsty rivals. His ace in the hole was a strangely efficient ability to establish diplomatic channels with the Camarilla, which he then used to gain a series of small concessions from the New York City court. Could it be that Prince Pinard, having realized that her longtime collaborator, Baron Callahan, was just an undesirable asset, found a different, more 2020 candidate to be the leader of the Anarchs? Extra, extra, read all about it. This one's not shaking, she's just angry. And this one just seems confused. And what about the fact that Torque, Helen Pinard, Thomas Arturo, Carter Vandervaden, and Aisling Sturbridge were all summoned to Callahan's office right before his death? Could it be that the so-called boss employed some final desperate measures to stop his own downward spiral into irrelevance? at which point a rush plan to bring on his demise was executed? Could it be that Kaiser, the legendary New York City info broker, striking deals left and right with both the Camarilla and the Anarchs, wiretapped Callahan's office to eavesdrop on those negotiations? Extra, extra, read all about it. You could cut the atmosphere here with a knife, and it's only getting worse. For them, at least, I feel better than I've felt in years. And the fact nobody is protesting probably means I'm hitting the nail on the head. Could it be that for the entire 21st century, the conflict between the New York City Camarilla and the Anarchs was a sham? What if the Second Inquisition's operations in the city were consulted with the leaders of the two sects? How deep does the rot of corruption go? And what about Sophie Langley's disappearance? Attempts on the unlives of would-be members of a coterie she attempted to set up alongside her ward last year. Could all of these things be connected? And that's just a tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned, dear readers. Heavy silence befalls the room. When it becomes too overbearing, Kadir breaks it by hawking loudly. His poker face is indecipherable. And where, pray tell, can one read all about it tomorrow? 10 different places, among them, of course, a report received by Clan Lasombra's elders in Chicago, constantly mixing truths with lies. I do know some facts, I did write something. But all in all, it's a confidence grift, plain and simple. Have you sent it out already? No, and Father Leonard is not the channel I used to reach Chicago. In case you were wondering, I took every possible precaution, the way you taught me. I know this hurts him, but I can't show a single weakness right now. Oh, this is ridiculous. She's probably bluffing. No, she knows, Thomas. Aisling, how can you be certain? I just am. That diary probably saved my ass. Thank you, Agathon, I guess. Even if I was bluffing, it's all about the optics. You nominate a special investigator, then the moment she presents her findings, you do what? Subjugate her? Get rid of her? How do you get out of this? I get it. You gave me that role, that title, because you were counting on me remaining the same shitty, useless nobody I was ever since I started working for the court. But funny how that works, isn't it? A week ago, nobody would give a shit about what I had to say. Now, I'm a grave threat to this entire Illuminati New World Order arrangement you've got going on. I still maintain you can't possibly know and prove all of the claims you've listed. There's just no way. I know. I checked. First off, stop bullshitting. You don't know that for sure. Secondly, even if you're right, so what? I've got leverage now. Because of my journalistic past, you gave me a detective title that wasn't worth a rat's ass in donning detective work, but ironically, it gave me the opportunity to do the best reporting I've ever done. And it doesn't even matter if it contains more facts than your official narrative. And you know why? Because the story I offer makes infinitely more sense. Morally, emotionally, metaphysically, however you name it, it's a far hotter commodity than the low-rent bullshit you peddle. People nowadays buy into barely coherent crap like 5G and QAnon. Once they get a hold of my perfectly logical story and see you don't really have anything to counter it, you'll be fucked. Hell, the very fact none of you have denied any of my allegations yet speaks volumes, doesn't it? The prince is absolutely furious that she's not in charge, visibly scrambling to figure out some counteroffensive. Why would anybody listen to you? You made that story of yours sound completely unrespectable, like tabloid garbage. Tabloid would be fine, just means it would reach more folks. What? What do you want? Now we're talking. A primogen position for Clan Lasombra and a number of privileges befitting the title. We can negotiate the details, but a nice apartment in downtown Manhattan is a must. What the fuck? Dreaming big, are we? What can you even bring to the fold as a primogen? I turn away from her to speak to the manager. Mr. Payne? Yes. As you can see, we've all found ourselves in quite a mess here. Indeed, to say the least. If I find us a way out, will you form a professional relationship with me and back the decision to make me Primogen? The figure in the wheelchair lets out a sarcastic laugh, sounding like the final wheeze of a dying man. You really are swinging for the fences, aren't you, child? I'm not suicidal. Most of the time, at least. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have my sights set sky high. I understand. So how do you propose we solve this little predicament? Easy. We give the masses an even better story than the one I just suggested. One that benefits nearly all the parties in this room. Alright, then. Thanks to your moxie, you've secured yourself my tentative support, child. Let's hear it. Thank you very much. Okay, then. During my investigation, I recovered some interesting intel about a certain individual. Praise be to Kaiser's abandoned limousine. Said individual would definitely prefer his behind-the-scenes dealings to remain unknown. For the last 20 years, he's been an on-and-off mediator between the different parties in the city. He prides himself on his diplomatic skills. Interestingly enough, though, one of his main motivations was selling intel about both the Camarilla and the Anarchs to any party that might be interested. Usually, that meant Kaiser. With a reasonable degree of certainty, he can be held responsible for a few recent failed Camarilla operations that weakened Helen Pinard's position. He dreams of being a prince, you see. I can already see him awkwardly shifting his weight. Recently, he obtained control over an IT company called Double Spiral, which he uses to influence New York City kind in ways that further his agenda and weaken his political enemies. He also operates the most powerful law firm in the city. He uses both of these tools so that he can manipulate the mortals to slowly tie a noose around anarch leaders and court members who he wants gone. I'm talking, of course, about Carter Vandervaden. In a split second, all eyes in the room are set on him. People, whatever she throws at me, I'm sure I can explain. I throw a file I recovered from Kaiser's limo at the bench. Are you sure? Because there's a hell of a lot to explain. Addison's servant picks up the file so that his master can browse through it. If that's not enough, I'm sure Double Spiral will be happy to deliver us more. So all the things you said the other night were a steaming pile of bullshit, Carter? Addison, we are friends. There's a good explanation for every single thing that's listed there. I swear on my father's grave. Even if there is, I doubt you can justify allowing a girl who's little more than a fledgling ripping your credibility to shreds in a matter of seconds. You've proven yourself as something infinitely worse than a traitor, Carter. You're a weak traitor. Thomas, Helen, don't you even dare speak to me, you bastard. That was the last element of my strategy. I hope they won't throw any curveballs my way, because from now on it's all pure improvisation. Just 2 minutes ago, I was the #1 enemy of everyone in this room. Now I'm their unexpected ally, revealing a common foe that some people in this room have wanted to nail since forever. All I'm saying is, we've got ourselves a perfect scapegoat to pin everything on. Shady dealings between both sects, and all the real conspiracies he was involved in, and possibly perfect looks in history. The schadenfreude accompanying his fall will be enough to keep some kindred in this city happy for years. He shoots me a demented look, one I assume is typically reserved for a future strangling victim. You can't do this to me. And why is that? You are incompetent! Wow. That's the best you can do, seriously? Kadir. Yes, my prince? Seize him! No, I beg you, just no! You can come with me without struggle or in torpor. As usual, there's 3 strikes with me, then you're gone. No. He talks a lot, but puts up a minimal resistance. Kadir drags him out of the room, and that's the last I ever see of him. For a good minute, everyone just stands there confused. Then, Addison begins to clap. Bravo, Miss Savinsky. I haven't seen such an adventurous power play in years. Maybe your generation is not all lost after all. Does that mean I can count on your support? Of course. As far as I'm concerned, you're the kind of ruthless primogen the city needs, especially now when one seat will probably be made vacant. So, what do you say, my prince? Pinard recoils a little when she hears me refer to her in such an official manner. My relationship with Addison is a decades-long conflict, and by now I know which hills I'm willing to die on. This is not one of them. Rejoice, girl. You're going to get what you want as well as deserve. We do have one important condition, though. Of course you do. Mr. Payne, as I'm sure you'll agree, being primogen is an important representative position. It demands nothing but a display of impeccable respect for the masquerade and the traditions. Of course, it is my concern that it wouldn't be proper for us to be represented by someone who openly violated the rules of kindred society. But of course, that wouldn't do at all. They'd have to openly renounce their old ways, at the very least. Indeed. And I think that in the case of Miss Savinsky, who has lived with a mortal under a single roof for a long time, the best course of action would be to renounce her and give her up to our sheriff. That kind of gesture would prove the new primogen's dedication to the court beyond any reasonable doubt. Yes. I definitely agree. Her ambition and pride are admirable. Wouldn't it be prudent of us to demand a display of humility as well? Sadistic fucks. My thoughts exactly. Well, then. Your answer, miss? Huh? What's so funny, Miss Savinsky? I see it in your eyes, Arturo, you naive fool. You think you're so goddamn clever. You think I would have gotten this far if I didn't think it all through? There's only one response. I agree. Do what you must. He's speechless. He thought he had me pinned, and I simply responded with a checkmate. Guess that solves our problem, then. Let's head out for now. It's been an exhausting evening, and dawn is nearing. Yes, let's just do that. He walks Payne out, looking unstrung and defeated. Oh, that's right. Wait, or was that... Soon after Kadir was ordered to take care of Dakota, he asked me if I wanted to know what was done to her. My reply was honest. Not really interested, no. He said that I'd gotten myself into a terrible game, the rules of which defied comprehension. I replied that if I'm winning and climbing upward, I must be doing something right. Still, we don't talk too much these days beyond professional interactions. I have a much bigger world to think about now, one that fills me with happiness. Come to think of it, my current state reminds me of those few halcyon days right after my embrace. It might not last, but at this point I have to ask myself, what does? It's always about the next bigger rush. I'm writing Speechless in official communications for the New York City Camarilla these days, helping out Payne from time to time. Too funny, I've never felt more accomplished, more fulfilled as a journalist than I am now. Karen is visiting in a few days to congratulate me on the behalf of the entire Chicago-based clan. Apparently, I've not only met her expectations, but exceeded them. She was bragging to everyone about how great her eye was in picking me. It's only these shadows that keep getting to me. I notice them everywhere these nights, and there are more and more of them surrounding me as time goes on. But it doesn't matter. I achieved victory, good ending. Ah, interesting. I like to think they are being cast because my future looks so bright. What have I had to do to get bad? I wonder how many endings there are. I didn't even have to make a choice that entire last day. Anyway, that was interesting story. It was pretty good. I'm not sure I'll be doing a thing like this again unless there's thousands of people who really want it, but I don't see that happening. Yeah, it's just too much reading, and normal games are just more fun. But yeah, it was still a good time. Like I would have enjoyed this in my own free time. Let's just hold to skip. Oh, there we go. I don't know how I feel about streaming this kind of thing, so we will be switching to games. I'm going to wait a second. I should be installed already. My computer's trying its best. Dang, there's so many achievements I still have to get in the first Frostpunk. Oh, I've only done the main story. I haven't done the other. Not. Yeah. Stockpile 35,000 coal. Dang. Ugh. I think I had like 28,000 coal. I had so much food when I beat it though. Like I had like 5 weeks of food. No joke. I didn't. Yeah. Wait a sec. What? There it is. Sweet. Alright, welcome to Utopia Builder Preview. We're thrilled you're here. I'm thrilled to be here. Oh. I'm going to change the Twitch whatever mode jig. Actually, it's just easier for YouTube. I'm going to end the stream, restart the stream, and then do a 5-minute timer, and I'll be right back. See you guys soon.